really working on not overcommitting, because in human design, which we're going to talk about today, I am the type known as a projector. So I figured a lot of people have been getting more familiar with human design, but there's still a lot of people that don't really know what it is. So human design is similar to astrology. It's a lot newer than astrology, but it does use your time, date, and place of birth. Hi, MP. Good to see you. I've been missing going live, so I'm hoping I can do it more. So with human design, we take your name, date, and place of birth, put it into the program, and you get what is called your body graph. In astrology, you would get your birth chart. The body graph looks at both 88 days before you were born and where the planets were, and your actual time and date of birth. So you have what is known as your design, which is the 88 days before birth. And then you have your personality column. And these planets show up in gates. There are 64 gates, and they are allocated throughout centers of the body. So that's why it's called a body graph. You literally get a chart that is the outline of a body. There's 9 centers, and they have differing numbers of gates. That is always the same. Every single human design chart has 9 body centers or energy centers and 64 gates. But you will only have a certain number of those gates active. And when 2 gates connect, then you have what is known as a channel. So you're getting all of this information from your human design. You have your energy type, and there's 5 types you can be, and that's what we're really going to focus on today. But for those of you that don't know what human design is, or you've been hearing this term human design and you're like, I don't really understand that, I just wanted you to have an overview. It would be better if I had visuals and I could show you, but I'm doing this on the fly, so roll with it. You can go Google human design body graph and familiarize yourself with the basics. If you really want to look up your own design, there's lots of places you can pull your chart for free. The original source is at Jovian Archive. That's Jovian Archive. And that is the original human design creators. The man who brought it through in the 80s is deceased now, but I believe his son and a couple other people that studied with him run it now. But there's evolved human design, there's quantum human design. Things have been evolving over the years, and a lot of the languaging with human design has been changing, and it actually needs to change for a number of reasons. But it's a massive body of work to get into, and it can be a little hard to start to learn. So if you want to know more about your human design, the first thing you want to look at and just understand for yourself is your type. And again, there's one of 5 types you will be. 70% of the world is what is known as a generator type, and there's 2 of those. There's just the generators, or a pure generator, and then there's the manifesting generators. So you could be a manifesting generator or just a generator. It'll say that on your chart if you pull it. If you really want to dive into your human design, the best app I've found is called Neutrino Design. It is an app you have to pay for, but it gives you so much info where you can click through and learn all about your design. Or you can book a session with me and I will walk you through it. Support small businesses. That's my plug. Okay, moving on. So the generators and manifesting generators will always have their sacral center, which is one of those 9 centers, defined, which means it's colored in when you pull your chart. What that means is the sacral center is like your personal battery. And when you are following your desire, following what lights you up or what you're curious about or what you love, that sacral center will keep giving you consistent access to energy. So one of the pieces of advice for the generators of the world, the gens and the mani-gens, we call them. And again, that's 70% of the whole population. So most people you meet will be a generator or a manifesting generator. And y'all need to really be clear on what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. You need to do more of what you love. When you start to feel really drained or really frustrated, you are meant to be taking inventory and being like, what did I say yes to that isn't really a yes? And that yes comes from the sacral. It's not from the head. It's not even from the heart, although the heart's always involved. We're all connected. But it's this gut level, like, or And if you can honor that, because part of what human design does is it helps us know, how do I personally make the decisions that are most aligned for me? If you can follow that, you will be accessing greater stores of energy within you. Because when you say yes to what your sacral is saying yes to, it's going to keep putting out energy. If you're saying yes to too many things that aren't a true, authentic yes for you, because generators get noticed for having lots of energy, and so they get a lot of requests. Will you help me move this weekend? Will you volunteer for this? Hey, can I get your input over here? Hey, we're working on this project. Come join us. And the generators keep going, yep, 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 yep. The mani-gens especially, because y'all like to be doing a lot of different things. And so you can easily overcommit. And then you start to get frustrated. And then if you ignore the frustration long enough, you literally just get complete adrenal fatigue. You are going to burn out or get chronically ill. So I work with a lot of generators that have landed in that burnout space. And we work on okay, where can I and how can I restructure my life so that I can actually tap into the power I'm meant to have by having my sacral center full and healthy and juicy. You need to really give yourself permission to invest more of your energy in what you really, really love. Oh my God, did you see that? The lights are going crazy. Okay, well, hi friends. Who's here? Who's joining us? Anyways, so that's the generators and the manifesting generators. That's going to be most of the population. But we still have 3 other types. The projectors are the next most populous. And we make up about 20 to 22% of the population. And as a projector, we do not, the other 3 types I'm going to talk about do not have that defined sacral energy. So we have to be really careful with what we're saying yes to. Projectors are designed to work in shorter bursts and have a lot more time for rest and solitude. Solitude is so key if you're a projector. And that can be really challenging if you're a projector that lives with people, that has a family, that has children to care for. This is partly why I have my Monday rest days and I take the month of July off. I need a lot more rest and alone time than even I was aware of. And a lot of projectors get conditioned to operate like super generators. So they will do just as much, if not more, than the generators, especially when they're younger, especially if they didn't know they were projectors. And because when a projector is with a generator or a manifesting generator, what projectors do, the types are auric types. They're describing ways our aura and our energy field interacts with others. Generators have an enveloping aura. They're like a warm hug that brings people in. And then they have this consistent energy that they can keep giving, again, as long as they're doing things that their sacral is actually saying yes to. Projectors have what is known as a focused, absorbing, and penetrating aura. So we go deeply in, That's why we have to wait for an invitation, because without consent, that does not feel good for people. But projectors are designed to deeply see into the other, and our energy kind of goes into the other person's energy, absorbs, and then that's why a lot of projectors, like, you're going to feel really seen if you are with a projector. But when we're with someone that has a defined sacral, we're absorbing that sacral energy. So when you're with a generator, you might feel like you have a lot of energy. And that's going to feel really good, because when projectors are alone, they're more conscious of the ebb and flow of their natural energy. When we're with generators, we can't tell what is ours usually. It takes time, it takes practice. But you're absorbing this sacral energy, so you're like, oh my God, I can keep going, I can keep going, I can keep going. But our systems aren't built to hold that much energy, to be running that much energy. We have different wiring, and we will crash. We will crash if we're constantly around generators, if we're not getting that alone time to rest and recharge and just be outside of people's energy. Because for years I thought I just needed to keep learning better energetic boundaries. Partly why I became an expert in energetic boundaries and energetic hygiene, because I kept struggling and I didn't understand why I could be doing everything right and still crashing and still feeling like, oh my God, I have to take a week off now. Like, I cannot keep up with the world. I cannot keep up with the people in my life. And I live with 3 generators. 2 are mani gens and 1's a pure gen. And that's a lot of sacral energy to be around. So there are times I literally have to just go be alone by myself, because our systems can't recharge when we're in that sacral energy. And our systems aren't meant to be running energy as much as the generators of the world are. So projectors, we're meant to specialize in areas that we're very drawn to. We are guides, leaders, visionaries, but we have to be invited to share what we see, what we feel, and what we know. The next type that we have that is also undefined sacral center, so not a consistent access to energy, is a manifester. They're about 7% of the population. And the manifestors have an energy, like the way their energy works is it's called a repulsing aura. They're very much in their own energy, and their energy kind of gently pushes other energy away. They are meant to initiate. They are meant to, like, have the idea, start something, get it going, and not really care what anyone else thinks. A lot of the female presenting manifestors I work with especially got the messaging at an earlier age that they needed to tone it down and become a people pleaser, because their energy, even if they weren't doing or saying anything, it literally is boss energy. It is like, I don't care what you think, I'm doing what I want, here's what I'm doing. And they get told that that's wrong. A lot of the men don't get that messaging as much. And luckily that's starting to change. But the manifestors of the world really are here to initiate. And they're the only type that is meant to truly initiate. Generators are meant to respond to the sacral. So that might seem like initiation. And in a way it can be, depending on how we're defining it. But it's this like sacral yes. And usually it's an opportunity or an interest that the generator is like, their sacral is saying yes to. A manifestor is going to have like a really good idea or this like inner motivation to like initiate a project, a company, a task, an idea. And they are meant to inform others, but not ask permission. Manifestors need autonomy. So do the manifesting generators. My lights are going crazy right now. The manifestors of the world are very much, they have this energy of, don't tell me what to do, right? Because they're really not meant to be told what to do. They're meant to be, I'm going to need to I think I left my light switch on and the wiring is bad. Sometimes it's really spirit, but I think this is more of an electrical issue, so I'm gonna get the light or just turn it off. Okay. Spirit can find another way to talk if that's spirit trying to come through. So manifestors are here to have the ideas and kind of get everyone else like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's the way ahead. They are really good problem solvers usually. They're here to lead. They have been the leaders. What is changing, and in 2027, we're going to really start to see this because that's when the background frequency shifts. In 2027, projectors come forth as the new leadership because it is not hierarchical, it is not top-down leadership. It is leadership through deeply seeing and helping everyone else truly see themselves, because we're moving into a background frequency that is not based on outsourcing our power to systems. Manifestors were really great at creating systems, leading organizations, putting together like larger complex structures that tended to people's needs or created something or met a need. That is breaking down. The structure of society as we know it is evolving into more communal and like self-autonomous orientation, where we're not outsourcing our power and authority. We're not compromising who we are for the sake of a very larger collective. We're not falling in line and being like the good little factory worker or the good little student at a big school. We're already seeing those changes happen because they don't happen overnight, but this is where we're going, and it's like picking up, and the projectors are here to lead the next generations. So manifestors are still going to be manifestors, but that's partly why we're seeing the number of manifestors dwindle, because there are way more manifestors that were born in the early 1900s to the like mid, like my dad's a manifestor, but now we're seeing fewer and fewer manifestors and more projectors being born. Which is also fascinating. The geek in me that loves statistics is like, ooh, look at that. So the final type we have are the reflectors, and they're just about 1% of the population. Reflectors have every center in their body, in their system, open. They have no definition. And the more open centers we have, the more we're absorbing or we're tapping into, we're able to really deeply feel and be aware of the energy of the other and the energy of our environment. So people that have a lot of centers colored in or defined are a little more self-contained. They tend to be, I don't want to say they struggle with empathy. It's just not in their design to be that attuned to others. So it can come off like it can be hard for someone like me who's very open to be around someone who's very defined, because I can see them really deeply. I can feel what they're feeling, but they're not wired to reciprocate that. And that I misinterpreted that for many years as like people just not caring, just not choosing to care or be sensitive, not choosing to like be empathetic. And I've actually shifted my understanding of that, because now I can see that some people, we literally just have very different designs, and their design isn't wrong, but it is different, and energetically it's very foreign to me. I get along really well with the reflectors of the world. Hi, Nakeem. The reflectors, like each community is meant to have a reflector that they kind of care for, that they love and they tend to and they listen to, because the magic of the reflector is this deep sensitivity to and awareness of the subtle and multi-layered aspects of like what is happening in this environment, what is happening in this dynamic, what is happening in the space. So projectors like kind of go deep. Manifestors kind of push everyone away and stay very like, this is me. Reflectors, they have what is known as a sampling aura. So they're not taking things in as deeply as the projector. Like the projectors kind of have probably the hardest time, but maybe I'm biased because I'm a projector, but like, because we like really absorb. Reflectors, the way their auric type works, and it's probably like a protective mechanism too, because if they were that open and taking everything in, like I don't think someone could survive. Like it's just too much. It's already a lot to be a projector, and I still have 2 of my 9 centers defined. Projectors have every center undefined or open, but their aura doesn't like absorb as deeply. They sample. They're like, but they can feel everything. And they have an even more refined awareness usually than the projectors. And so as a projector, I make a point to like there's not many reflectors, although more of them are being born too. I'm noticing that when I get to pull family charts, I know a lot more really young projectors than older ones. But the projectors I do know that are adults are very, they've had the best resources. Like I make a point to like listen. If a reflector is going to speak, you should listen. And they don't always get listened to. And a lot of the reflectors have a way of just they attune, they reflect, right? They both reflect within themselves, but they're also reflecting the energy around them, right? So sometimes it can be difficult at first to get to know a reflector. But if a reflector is willing to get to know you, the best thing you can do is listen, right? And be really open to what is being noticed, what is being shared. And sometimes it can be very subtle, very poetic, very but there's a clarity there if you're able to hear it. And the other challenge that reflectors run into, and also projectors, because projectors can see very deeply into someone, oftentimes both reflectors and projectors are aware of truths that other people might not be comfortable to acknowledge or ready to acknowledge. And the guidance for the reflectors and the projectors is really to like trust, like if you're feeling that like unwillingness to hear or receive, to just retreat. Projectors retreat into solitude, reflectors retreat into an environment that feels good for them. And there is a beautiful, like I've noticed, like the longer I've studied human design and gotten to know the designs of the people I live and work and spend time in community with, there really is this beautiful organic structuring that can happen when each person is honoring their own design and aware of the others, and everyone is allowed to be who they are. And we can play to our strengths and not take the like differences, or when the energy isn't like gelling, it doesn't have to be taken personally or misconstrued. It's just this like deeper awareness and acceptance that allows the whole community to thrive. And it really is beautiful. And I hope and I believe that we're moving in that direction. And that's why I like to like offer people the tool of human design. It's not for everyone. You don't have to know this stuff about yourself to be aligned or to live your truth. And in fact, it can be like people can get too into the information of human design and then just get stuck like, I'm learning, I know, I'm aware. Okay, but are you actually living an aligned life? Are you actually like honoring what you need and living your truth? Or are you just analyzing and studying yourself and others all the time? That's not helpful. And if y'all have any questions about this stuff, put them in the chat, and I will answer them. I'm just kind of rambling right now. But those are the 5 human design types. And every type has what is known as a strategy and an authority. The strategy is the same for every type. The authority, there's multiple authorities you can have, other than reflectors, that always have what is known as lunar authority. The authority guides how you make decisions. Your strategy is really, it's also guiding that, right? It's like your strategy for navigating. The projector strategy is wait for the invitation. The reflector strategy is wait a lunar cycle, and every reflector has a lunar authority, which means as the moon moves through their chart, activating all of their gates, it's like about a 29 day cycle. That's where their clarity around the choices, like where am I committing my energy? What am I choosing? So reflectors have to take this time for the important decisions. This is not about like, where am I going to eat today? Do I want to go to the movies? No, you don't have to wait a month to decide if you're going to go to the movies. No. But the bigger choices in life that really affect you, like the relationships, the jobs, the like living situations, like those things, you need to take a month to feel through if you're a reflector. The projector strategy is wait for the invitation, and invitations with projectors are meant to be more formal. It's not just like, hey, do you want to come over? It's like, hey, I would really love to see you. Would you like to come over at this time on this day? And the reason why is because projectors do get lots of invitations usually, unless you're like a total recluse, because people feel seen when they're around a projector, and they like that. Projectors often have good insights, good ideas, and it's the experience of being seen that people feel with a projector, because again, we're very focused on each person that we're with. And so I used to get asked to coffee, out to lunch all the time. And it's at a point where I'm like, I can't, like, A, I can't say yes to all of that energetically. And B, it's this, like, it was like kind of an unfair exchange, because the other person would like get a lot out of our conversation. And I'm giving a lot. I'm giving a lot of like listening and awareness and insight. And it wasn't always, mutual, right? It's not like these aren't my friends. It's just anyone that would meet me and think, wow, she's really interesting to talk to. Can we get coffee sometime? And I'd be like, okay, sure. And now I'm like, you can book a session with me, because projectors need to be compensated. Does not always mean financially, but because our energy is so limited, we really, like, a lot of projectors, unless you like end up in like a good cushy job, it's hard. We literally have to live life in a very different way than like the world is designed. And so it can be challenging, and we have to be more boundaried with our energy and with who we're spending time with, because we're absorbing so much, and spending time with people that aren't able to either offer something, or that aren't like kind of clean or like taking care of their own energy. It can literally make us sick. So I learned that the hard way over and over again. And now I have really clear boundaries. So please don't be offended if I don't go get coffee with you. It doesn't mean that your energy is like bad or dirty. It just means like I literally have to be so careful with my time and my boundaries. And I already have a lot of people in my life that need and deserve that time. And so it's sort of like, things are pretty full here, right? They're full, and I'm happy, and my life is amazing. And that means there's not a lot of, like, something has to leave my life in order for me to have time to socialize with someone else. And I'm autistic, so just add that into everything. So then with the generators, but authority. I'm all over the place. I said I was only going to talk about type, but I still have time to talk, so I'm talking. The authority. Projectors can have up to 5 different authorities. I'm not going to get into all of that. Just know that the reflector is the only one of the 5 types that only has one authority. And that's the lunar authority, to like let the moon cycle through the chart, through your gates. Let the moon cycle and like then make your big decision. Projectors have to wait for the invitation as their strategy. The authority that guides that can be different. I am a mental projector, which is the least common authority to have. And that means I don't have what is called inner authority, because I have no centers defined below my throat, which means I have to soundboard. I have to speak my ideas out loud in multiple settings to hear the truth reflected back. But there is emotional authority, splenic authority, ego authority, self-projected authority that projectors can have. Then the generators and the mani-gens, your strategy is to respond. The authority will guide that. And the most common authorities for the generators and the mani-gens are sacral authority, which is just that sacral center saying uh-huh or uh-uh. Or emotional authority, which is the defined solar plexus center. And that means you have to first ride what is called the emotional wave. You're not meant to make decisions in the now. Sacral authority can make a decision in the now if it's coming from the sacral yes or no. That gut level, or okay? Listening to that is your guide to aligned happenings, okay? The right people, the right places, the right opportunities, the right experiences. The sacral knows and is guiding you. If you have emotional authority, you are still ultimately listening to your sacral, but you have to wait for your emotions to kind of calm. So you have to feel your way through the highs and the lows, the high and the low. And then once things feel emotionally more neutral, then you can actually feel that sacral yes or no. But it's too easy to confuse an emotional peak or high for a yes and an emotional low for a no. And the emotions aren't giving you the right information. They're sort of like blocking what the sacral is trying to guide you to. But you are meant to like feel those feelings and let them move, because those feelings are bringing information to the sacral. So the emotional authorities, y'all are about 54% of the world, not just generators. Projectors can have emotional authority. Manifestors can have emotional authority. So there's four of the 5 types can have emotional authority. And so there's a lot of y'all in the world. I don't have that, but it's interesting. It can be challenging for the emotional authorities because you don't always want to feel everything. But that's your way to clarity. So feel your feels. And then the manifestors, they have an interesting strategy because it's to inform. And that's because part of our strategy is teaching us how to experience less resistance from others in our life. Like, how do I make a decision that's aligned, but also how do I make a decision in a way that isn't creating resistance? So if a projector doesn't wait for the invitation, then they're like kind of energetically raping people, right? They're like inserting their energy, their advice, their insight, and it's not wanted. So I'm going to experience resistance, friction, not good stuff, right? If I wait for the invitation and it's a genuine invitation that feels aligned for me too, then everything like flows, right? So I'm reducing resistance when I honor my strategy. So the manifestor strategy to inform is more for manifestors. They don't need help making decisions. They're like they're the clearest on like, what do I want? What do I need? What's the best thing here? Right? And so their strategy of informing is to reduce the resistance or frustration from other people. Informing means I'm letting you know what my plan is. I might change my plan. I might go in a different direction, but here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's what I'm wanting. Here's what I'm seeing, right? And a lot of manifestors grow up kind of choosing not to inform because when they were younger and didn't have control of their lives, they got told no a lot. And that's not good for a manifestor. I mean, obviously, if you're a kid about to like run into traffic, you need to be told no. But they learned that if I tell people what I'm doing, they're going to try to stop me or they might not agree. And I'm going to do what I'm going to do, especially now that I'm an adult. So I'm just not going to say anything. And this is true for the Manny Gens as well. Y'all also need to inform as well as respond to that sacral yes or no. And so the manifestors, it's not, informing is not asking for permission. Is it okay if I do that? No. Manifestors have an inherent authority and they are meant to be like, hey, I'm planning on going here today. I'm planning on taking apart the bathroom today to remodel it. Whatever that is. But the information helps other people understand like what is happening right now. Because manifestors can end up kind of alone if they don't clue people into what they're doing. But it's also important if you have a manifestor in your life that you sort of understand their design because it can feel a little frustrating sometimes. Don't expect them to feel like they need to consult you or feel like it's not always like teamwork and partnership with a manifestor. They're going to have the vision and they're either going to do it themselves and get it done, or they're going to like find the right people. But it is a different energy. And that's why we don't have as many manifestors because too many cooks in the kitchen, right? But it's been fascinating to kind of like observe the common issue. Like I've done this long enough that I can kind of usually tell someone's type if I can see them interact enough. I can usually like have a good sense of like what are the most common challenges this person experiences. So I've found human design to be very valuable, especially when it comes to relational dynamics and to, again, like just how am I navigating life? How am I making the best decisions for myself? How am I honoring my energy the way it is meant to be in the world? And how can I like understand all of that better? So it's been interesting. And if you're interested in human design, I have a lot of resources. And I offer written reports. I offer consultations where we just talk through your human design. There's some people I work with long term, families, small businesses, and just individuals that, because it's so much. If you like really want to go deep into your design or really start to like live your design, it can help to have kind of like monthly or quarterly check-ins where it's like, I'm trying to wait for the invitation as a projector, but like this is what I'm running into. These are the challenges. And so I have some people I've worked with for like 4 and 5 years now, and it's been so beautiful to watch them really like live into their design and see the way their life restructures around them. And the new opportunities that are so much more aligned that show up, like things that you wouldn't have thought were possible really become possible and just start to show up in your life when you really commit to and start living your design. So obviously, like, I don't want to waste my time or anyone else's time on things that aren't helpful and actually practical. But I also bring in like the magic and the surrender, and all of that together can be really supportive. So I do encourage, if this is something you're interested in and you don't know much about your design, check it out. Look up the design of the people you love with their consent. If you don't know your birth time, it is important because like your type can change throughout the day. So again, pay attention to characteristics. I also offer what is called chart rectification for people that really don't know their birth time or they're not sure, where we pull multiple charts at different times throughout the day. And I ask you a lot of really personal questions. And the more honestly you answer those questions, the easier we can like narrow down your birth time, usually to within the hour, and get a chart that feels really accurate. Because this stuff really shows up in your life. Like, we're going to know if you're a projector versus a generator, versus a manifester. Like, it's not that hard once you know enough about human design. It's not that hard to like figure out the right chart for someone. So, a lot of people don't have their birth time. They don't know what it is. Or if you pull your human design and you're reading it and you're like, this is not me at all, you're likely either a projector or reflector that was super conditioned to show up in the world like a generator, and it's just not quite working, but you might see yourself and operate like a generator even though you're not one. Or your birth time's wrong. And I have seen, like, literally even like with people's birth certificates, the time isn't right. In one case, it wasn't right because the woman asked for their child to be born after midnight rather than, like, their kid was born at like 11:58 p.m. the day before, but their birth certificate said they were born at 12:01 a.m. the next day. And we were able, like, I was like pulling the right chart based on the birth certificate, and it was not adding up for this person. And I was like, what is going on? And so they called their mom and they were like, Mom, are you sure they like put the right time down? And the mom was like, actually, I just didn't want you being born on my ex's birthday. So I asked the nurses to like push it up to 5 minutes. So things happen. Things happen. Birth certificates can be wrong, but your human design, like, I promise you, we can figure it out if you don't know your birth time, or if you're reading about your human design and you're like, for some reason, this is just not landing. Figure it out. Because there's a lot of great info you can get. Like with human design, you can even find out, what is my ideal environment? How do I best digest food and information? What like is my deeper motivation in life? What is the genetic trauma I'm most predisposed to? Like, there's a lot you can learn with your design. So go forth. And if you have any questions, let me know. I hope this was helpful, and I hope this was insightful. I know a lot of people know a lot about human design, so sometimes I feel a little bit like a broken record, but I try to like reshare stuff every so often for those that are still, like, I have new people all the time that are just finding me or finding out about human design. So that's my talk today. Have a great day. And if you're in town in Decatur, Georgia, I'm working the shop today until 5. I do have to close right at 5 p.m. because I'm my dad's birthday dinner tonight. But I'll be there from 12 to 5 today. So come see me. Bye, y'all.